Hey everyone, today's Thursday, March 11th. Welcome to A Word from Grace. It's been said that belief means having a firm conviction, not just hoping that something's true. Hebrews 11:9 says, even when Abraham reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith, for he was like a foreigner living in tents. Now, sticking with my Abraham theme from last week, there's an incredible lesson for us to draw from regarding faith. In the book of Hebrews, Abraham is praised for believing God's promises. God called Abraham to move to a place where he didn't know anybody. He had no permanent place to live, no community to rely on for support, no one to call on in times of trouble. Yet he was able to live apart from even established and secure human communities because he was confidently looking forward to the city with eternal foundations. And he was also sustained by God's promises of a son. So many years after Abraham was, Paul commented on Abraham's ability to endure difficult circumstances and to remain obedient through the years of waiting. Paul said this in Romans 4. Abraham's faith did not weaken, even though at about 100 years old, he figured his body was as good as dead, and so was Sarah's womb. So whether living in a tent on foreign land or defying the odds of having a child, Abraham believed the promise. He took the Lord at his word. He continually moved forward in the direction of firm conviction. Now, when we speak of not having faith, if we're honest, most times it's not in God himself. Rather, it's in our expectation of outcome. Our lack of faith doesn't hinder God at all, but it will prevent us from moving forward towards the plans and promises that God is waiting to deliver. Abraham moved towards the promises of God. He left Ur, living and dwelling in strange places, until eventually arriving at God's promise. He moved towards the promise of a son. Obviously, he and Sarah, they continued their efforts of conception until Isaac came to be. And thousands of years later, the greatest spiritual character trait attributed to Abraham was faith. Not the specifics, not the achievements, but rather the determination of faith to keep moving towards the promises of God by faith, even in the face of doubtful circumstances and occasional failure. Do you believe God? If he says something in his book, do you look for ways to dodge the issue or rationalize your way around it? Or do you see his commands as your personal opportunity to live by faith? Guard against letting the difficulty of a choice keep you from accepting the challenge of doing what he asks. Don't let the odds of any situation keep you from trusting God. The odds may often blindside you and be overwhelming. But people who live by faith must not focus on the odds or statistics. They must cling for dear life in the God they trust as they continue to move forward one step at a time until the glory of God is revealed and the promises of God are seen. The word says Abraham never wavered in believing God's promises. He was fully convinced that God is able to do whatever he says. So let's be and live as people of faith, not wishing for results, but confident that as we hold to our firm convictions, he's with us and he'll see us through to the promises ahead. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.